All right. I actually forgot to mention this too. On the cover of the book, Gad the Seer, okay? It shows a moon, a full moon with a crescent moon inside of it, with a donkey next to a camel, okay? Now, when I think right now of a camel, and I even think maybe it did it say Ishmael was like a donkey too, that his hand would like a wild donkey and his hand would be against all of his brethren. But the funny thing, the premise of Gad the Seer, it talks about how the pure is mixed in with the impure. You know what I'm saying? But I got the book, and then this dude had it, took a liking to it and an interest in it, so I figured I'd let him read it first. Uh, it's like patient, long suffering, wait for the fruit. You know what I'm saying? But from what I did gather, I did get to read a few pages of it before I let the dude borrow it. Uh, but it's talking about mixing the impure with the pure to the point where you can't tell the difference of what's what. It's pretty crazy, but I think that's also in partial reference to the iron and the clay trying to mix, but they shall not cleave. You know, and it's funny if I was to think of who the camel would be, I would say it was the Muslims, the Ishmael, the other Abrahamites, but the ones that aren't Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? They're Aramaic. They're Bedouin. But there might it's like kind of like the Lakota and the Ojibwa. They're not related, but since they were neighbors and intermarried between each other, there was inter overlapping of custom and maybe some of their mythology or see the thing about it is Indian tales are like parables. Like when Jesus was like the parable of the sower, they're parables that explain some kind of moral of the story. So they teach some kind of morals through these roundabout ways that are explained through nature. And you know, there's it works, but without you need you do need solid instruction, but you also need some way to present a platform to have someone experience something without actually having to experience it. That's what a parable's there for. It's to save you from having to experience something that's not good for you. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna suck. But in the end, if you do have to go for it, it was for your own good, even though it sucked. But you know that's the purification, the refiner's fire. You know what I'm saying? The separating, the sifting, the it's like when you get wild rice. First, you got to beat it off the stalk. Then you got to take it and you got to beat the husk off the freaking grain. Uh, it's a violent threshing process. You know what I'm saying? And we're all going through this. Uh, you know, it's like, and it's also like when you let me show you this. Watch my hands now. Watch my hands. I'm not a magician, but look, when you twist like this, like wringing something out, okay? Then imagine if I hooked a stick up here and I could twist, hold it there, twist, hold it there, twist, hold it there, twist. The if it was a bag in between my two hands and it was full of olives, and I kept twisting it, twisted it, the oil would flow out. So part of this whole breaking the wild horse thing is also that being twisted, twisted, twisted to really get every last drop of oil out of you. For see, the first ring out is the pure stuff. That's the light stuff. That's the stuff on top. The harder wringing stuff out is like, look, you're trying to get It's like the first level stuff would be cooking. Second level stuff would be more like the stuff you'd want to put on your skin or use for more industrial purposes. It'd be pulpy. You know what I'm saying? But the first comes out light. You know, and I read this for everyday life in biblical times, this book. And when it explains all these processes, all of a sudden the parables of Christ start to make a lot more sense. You got to put yourself in their shoes in their time. Same thing with that Anishinaabe natural scientist. It says the world back then was a different world, a quieter world than it was today. Only natural sounds were heard. There wasn't radio and TVs and uh, machinery, heavy machinery, planes, lawnmowers. Uh, is a very different time, but they had simple machines. They used them very commonly, and they could accomplish like a lot more than industrially. Than they make it seem like little monkeys with little bone chunks. You know what I'm saying? Built the pyramids. Friggin' sometimes. I mean, really, it's retarded. But anyway, uh, I haven't got through the rest of the book, but while it's still fresh on my mind about the donkey, the type and shadow, it's in there. It's everywhere. Look, I'd almost make some kind of bet if you could prove it wrong, but I don't think I really need to.